Hey guys, welcome back to Wisdom Talks. So I'm Wisdom and I'm ready to talk, okay? So today this might be a little bit of a long one, okay? I don't know. But we're going to break down somewhat of the mind of the avoidant person. So if you clicked on this video, you likely might always attract avoidance, or you might be with somebody who has an avoidant attachment style and you're just trying to figure them out, right? You're trying to get in their head. You need to know what you need to know, okay? So we're going to kind of break this down a little bit, all right? Um, I was inspired to do this video because when I made my last video, a lot of people were saying that they had been dealing with an avoidant and it was driving them crazy, right? So let's give them a little bit of grace and let's try to figure them out, okay? So first things first, we already know I have my handy dandy notebook, okay? This is going to be a long one. Avoidants want love, but they desperately struggle with learning how to show it. Okay, so I should have wrote learning how to express it. Avoidant people, they know how to show love. They just don't know how to express their love verbally. Okay, so you'll notice a lot of times if you are talking to someone who is avoidant, you might be a little bit you might be able to express your emotions a little bit more. So you might be able to say like, "Hey, I really like you," or or "I love you," or whatever the case, and you'll notice that they kind of like dance around, like 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 validating you back. They'll say things like, "Oh, like, yeah, I appreciate you too," or um I can't think of a good example right now, but they will say things that dances around them actually saying, "Hey, this is how I feel about you." Okay. um but with an avoidant, you will know how they feel about you because they will show it. So these tend to typically be more of the showers than the tellers. Okay, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, it's not a bad thing. Okay, avoidants aren't all that bad, but they just drive us crazy sometimes, right? So they will typically be the type where they won't say it. They won't really ever tell you how they really feel. They'll mostly kind of show it. Okay, you'll notice how they show up. You'll notice they're not really consistent, but they'll be a little bit more consistent with you than they are with like in a normal circumstance. Okay. Yes. So I wrote true intimacy feels like they are losing control. They fear they will lose their true independence, usually will withdraw to regain some sense of control. So a lot of times with avoidant, when they get really close to you, right? They get close to you, especially if they open up to you and they be vulnerable and they let you in, right? They will typically tend to pull away from you. Okay. At some point in time, they really do struggle with being consistent and showing up consistently. They just do. Okay. I don't know why, but a lot of them, they get very fearful when they get too close to you. So when you start to see parts of them that they don't normally show other people, that freaks them out and it makes them want to pull back. Not that you did anything wrong, right? Not that you said something wrong or whatever the case. No, it's that they fear losing control. Okay, because you have to understand with avoidance, they don't typically tend to really like people for real, for real. Okay, they typically they can like people, but they don't like people like they think they like people, if that makes sense. Okay, so you won't really notice the difference between you and a person that they don't really like. Like, okay, let me explain that further. With an avoidant person, they are the same with everybody. So they could really, really like you and still pull away, still ghost you, right? This is a real thing. Okay. Or they could really not like you and still, like they'll come back, they'll pull away, they'll come back. So with avoidance, you won't ever really notice the difference. How you know that they really like you is if they are much more consistent than with other people. Okay. But like I said, let me give this disclaimer. I typically tell people to stay away from the avoidant because it can be very stressful. If you have an anxious attachment style, if you're secure and you don't mind them pulling away from you and them coming back when they regain their sense of control, then okay. But if you have a severe anxious attachment style, run. Run, because this will drive you crazy. It will drive you up the wall until you kind of learn the pattern. Okay, now if this is something you want to deal with, then okay, right? I've been there, like we've all probably been there at some point in time. So I don't judge. If this is you say, hey, I like this person, I just want to figure it out, I want to understand it. That's great. But if you have a very hard time, you need consistency, you need somebody to be there and validate you, this is not going to be the person for you. So I'm just going to give you that disclaimer now. Get out while you can, okay? Because it will drive you crazy and you will go insane dealing with an avoidant, okay? If you don't understand what's happening. Okay, so this video is to get you to understand what is going on, especially if you feel like you have a real connection with this person, okay? Um, So yes, they will typically tend to withdraw from you when they feel exposed or when they feel shown, like they feel like you can see them. Okay. Because most avoidants, they do this thing where they're able to mask who they are very, very well. Okay. So when if a person can come in and they can see them clearly for who they are, that freaks them out. All right. Um, Most avoidants typically were hurt very early in their life. Okay, so either in a relationship, either family, parents, whatever. I mean, we all have childhood things, right, that we've dealt with. We all been there. But with avoidance, they process the pain differently. So they process pain as like, okay, it's not safe for me to love and be vulnerable. Okay, typically with avoidant people, they were hurt very early in life and they completely shut all those emotions off, at least to the world. Okay, because with avoidant people, they are very emotional. Do not get it twisted and think because this person is able to shut you out, is able to ghost you, is able to cut you off, that they don't feel nothing for you. Typically, they feel everything for you, and that's why they do what they do. Okay? So you have to know the signs. Now, sometimes a person could just not like you and they coming in and out your life and they just playing with you, right? So you got to know the difference. You have to know the difference between, okay, does this person really care about me and they just struggle with real intimacy, or is this person just playing with me? Okay. So they typically were hurt very early in their life, and so it they puts this wall up, all right, and they get this persona of they don't care, they don't feel anything, they don't care, blah 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 blah, but they do, all right. Um, Yes, I just wrote that. They feel emotions very deeply, but they severely struggle to express them. All right. So I said that in the beginning. They do not know how to tell you how they feel, they only know how to show. So, for example, right, with avoidance, most of the time, they will be the type of people who they'll ghost. They'll ghost everybody. They do this with everybody. It's not just a relationship. They do this with their friends. They do this with their um, they do this with their relationships. They do this with their family. They do this with everybody. Okay. But you'll notice with an avoidant, once it's, they typically do this right after they get really, really close to you. Like right after y'all might have a really deep talk, or y'all might have like real intimacy, right? Where y'all connect. Then they'll shut it off. That's how you kind of know, like, wait a minute, this is just his attachment style, or this is her attachment. Okay. So that's what they do. They just struggle with it. Point blank period. I don't know what's the problem, but they struggle. Okay. Um, because typically most people, when they feel intimacy, right? When I know when I feel close to somebody, I come closer. I don't draw away. I come closer. They're the opposite. So when they feel close, they draw away. They literally run. Okay. These are the runners. All right. Um, so yes, I just wrote that. So a lot of times they will shut off a relationship if it is too triggering for them, or if it is too intense. I'm gonna say that again because I felt like I was speaking too fast. So a lot of times, right, with the avoidant people, they will shut off a relationship if it is too triggering to them or it feels too intense. So this is why when you get with them, right, you might have like a really just great date, or you might have a really good like time with them, a moment with them, right? A really true connecting time. And then you'll feel like, wow, like I know we got something real with each other. I know this is real. And then they will like out of the blue ghost you or cut you off. And you will be so confused and you'll feel like, wait, did I just imagine this whole thing? Like, was I going crazy? Was I just tripping? Like, was I feeling that all on my own? No, you was not feeling it on your own. In fact, they felt it too. But it just triggers them too much to feel that super closeness to somebody. Because you got to understand, most people, a lot of people fear getting hurt, right? So I fear getting hurt. I'm sure you fear getting hurt, right? But a lot of people, we will take the risk, right? We will take the risk if we feel like it's real. If we feel like this is it, I'll take the risk again. That's the one thing about me. I will take a risk on love if I really was sure this is it. When avoidant people, they are the opposite. So if they feel for you a lot, they will literally be like, oh no, this person can do me the worst out of anybody. Because when they don't really care about you, they don't really like you, it don't mean nothing, it don't matter. But when they really feel for you and they open up and they be vulnerable with you, they fear you the most. Okay. So just get that in your head. You did not imagine the connection. You did not imagine what y'all just had. You didn't imagine in your head. It's just that this person really, you have to understand, I'm gonna say this again, they struggle with intimacy, they struggle with close intimacy with somebody. They are used to keeping people at a distance, at a bay, so that they can keep control. And it's very rare that they'll meet somebody that makes them, that connects that emotion with how they feel. Avoiding people is very rare that they'll meet somebody and they'll feel a connection, a true connection with them. So when they do, you'll notice, like, you'll notice if you had like a really deep time with them, right, a really intimate time, you'll notice that it's like they shut you out the worst. But with the other people, right, with the surface level connections, they are still able to like connect with them, talk to them. But with you, it's like, oh no, I got to get this person, I gotta get away from this person. Congratulations, you tap into that other side. You tap beyond that facade. Okay. Um, yeah, so I wrote the best thing to do with the avoidance, quite frankly, I will say it's up to you. Okay. When you love somebody, when you really feel deeply for somebody, sometimes it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to just say, just cut them off and just leave them alone. That's hard to do. Okay. Um, but what I would say is really sit and think if this is the type of person that you will want to deal with long term. Because if a person is showing you that they are a chronic runner, right? They have a severe avoidant attachment style. You have to come to peace with knowing, okay, if I'm going to stay in this, from time to time, this person is going to pull back. From time to time, this person is going to, um, they're going to leave. They're going to have to reset because they always need to feel like they're in control. So you have to come to peace with either I'm going to deal with it or I'm not. All right. So, from my belief, if the person loves you enough and you be direct with them and let them know, like, hey, listen, I can't keep going with this. Like, you either in or you out. You feel me? Most of the time, they'll like, because they know what they're doing. They know how it affects other people. Sometimes they need somebody to say it to them, and sometimes they need to like you enough. Honestly, quite frankly, they need to like you enough in order to change this behavior. Because if they don't, they might not. They'll be like this forever, unless somebody say, hey, you're going to lose me if you keep doing this to me. Okay, so you have to, my best advice is to figure out if this is something that you could deal with for the rest of your life or however long y'all gonna talk or be together. And if it is, then either come to peace that this is who this person is, or you need to say, hey, you either gonna have to fix this, or I'm gonna be going. I'm gonna be leaving. Okay, because you're not gonna be driving me crazy. Keep pulling away. We get all close. I'm in love, and then you going for a week. I don't got time for that. Okay, and you shouldn't have time for that either. They need to get themselves together. Like, we're adults here. Heal. Like, you need to heal. Okay, Mr. Avoidant, Mrs. Avoidant. It is what it is. Okay. Um. Yes. So best thing to do is just give them space. If you're going to deal with it, you're gonna have to be very comfortable with giving space. You're gonna have to be comfortable with giving them space, right? Um, and most avoidance, they just lacked love. They lacked um, the love that they needed as a kid, right? It's the same thing with anxious attachment. When you are anxious, you lacked something too. You likely lacked some type of, like, you likely didn't get um, you likely didn't have a stable life. So you are anxious because you are scared somebody gonna leave you. And then with them, they're anxious because they might have felt like it's the same thing. They might have felt dependent on somebody and that person just didn't show up for them. And then they process it as, you know what? I can't trust nobody. I can't, expect nobody to be there for me. I gotta have me. Which we can all relate to that, right? So, we can have some grace for the avoidance. We can have some grace. A little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Um, so they tend to put their guard up the most with the ones they feel the strongest for. That goes into what I was saying in the beginning. So no, you did not imagine this. All right. You'll know the signs. Okay. You will feel it with them. Okay. You will feel the energy with them. You didn't imagine it, but they just might feel the most when they're with you or when they're talking to you, and they just don't know how to process that. Um, they may sometimes keep, okay, yes, so sometimes you'll notice with avoiding people, like, say if they come in and out, or they talk to you, they stop talking to you, whatever, and you'll notice they might still have other people around, right, or other people that they're talking to and stuff, and you'll kind of feel like, well, I thought we really had a connection, like I thought you really was into me. What it is that they want other connections around a lot of times because they need that balance. So if when they're with you, if they're open and vulnerable and there's true selves, right, their mask is off, because they typically tend to mask very well. Most people never get to know who the avoided person truly is Understand that, okay? So when they take that mask off and they show you who they are, it freaks them out. So they need to keep other people around. When y'all are not official, they will typically tend to keep other people around so that those connections can balance out that surface level part of themselves, so that they don't completely just lose themselves, right? That's why they fear the connection with you so much, because they lose their self in a good way, but it just freaks them out. So they will keep other people around, right? So that they are balancing that mess, that side of them that's like really not them. Okay. That ego side of them. Um, yeah, so with the avoiding people, honestly, I get it, and when you learn to look at things from other points of view, you'll say, okay, I understand that. But they have to be accountable for how they make other people feel and the things that they're doing, how they are damaged. Like when you are dealing with an avoidant, it can really damage you mentally, because you will internally process all of that. You will think it's you. You will think something's wrong with you. You'll think they don't like you. You'll think all these negative thoughts, and it's very mentally damaging to your brain. Okay, so they need to become accountable for what they are doing, how they're showing up. Like, if you don't know how to love and be consistent with me and show up for me, then just stop loving. Why are you in the dating world and you don't even know how to date? You don't even know how to love. You don't even know how to be here, right? You get me to like you, and then now you like me, so now I gotta suffer because you like me. Nobody got time for that, okay? Nobody have time for that. So they need to heal. They need to get themselves together, and that's why I said with an avoidant, you either gonna cut it all the way off, or you are going to give them an ultimatum and say, hey, whether they run or not, if you give avoiding an ultimatum and they still run and they say, I can't do that, congratulations, you just saved yourself some time. Okay? So they're either going to become aware of their actions and stop the pattern, right? Where they can actually start to show up better, or they're going to say, no, I can't do this, and I'm gonna leave again. And I'm gonna go to other people who are not gonna fulfill me, and I'm just gonna think about you for the rest of my life. Because that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna stalk you, they're gonna think about you, they're gonna be missing you, they're gonna be wanting you for the rest of your life, and then you're gonna be off with the person that actually know how to show up for you. So it's up to them. Okay. Either way in the situation, you win. All right. Um, yeah, I wrote that real intimacy makes them feel exposed. That is the biggest thing with the avoidance. All right. So a lot of times when they're pulling away, it's because they are confusing love with losing their freedom. They don't want to lose their self. They don't want to lose that mask that they have had. They don't want to lose this illusion of who they thought they were, who they are showing everybody else to be. They want to be that person. They want to be who they are showing to be, right? But when you come in, you expose who they really are, not in a bad way, in a good way, because typically they tend to be very sensitive on the inside. They just don't show people that. Okay, so the typical loop of the dealing with and avoiding, okay, is y'all get together, y'all feel a deep connection, a deep soul tie, a deep tie, like you'll feel like this feels like this is it, right? They'll open up to you, you'll open up to them, y'all will bond emotionally very deeply, okay, very, very deeply. All right, it'll be so crystal clear that this person really feels for you. Then the person, once y'all split, once y'all leave off y'all date or whatever the case, you go where you going, they go where they going. Once they get a little bit of time by themselves, they get fearful, they'll get scared, they'll get overwhelmed by what they just felt. And then they'll distance themselves from you. They'll distance, whether that's just blatantly ghosting you or the communication gets very slow. After they do that, once you give them space, right? Because the one thing you don't do is ever chase anybody. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. Don't chase nobody. It's too many people out here for this. Don't chase nobody. But when they pull away, you say, okay, and don't internalize it. Don't make it about yourself. They will start to miss you once you give them the space and you say, all right, whatever. You're leaving? Yeah. Okay. Oh, you need some time? Okay. 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 I'm going to go live my life. They will start to miss you and then they will reappear. And you'll notice, but with avoiding, like I said, how you notice if it's a difference, they'll be much more consistent with, they'll still do the same thing, but they'll be more consistent with you. So with other people, they might just flat out ghost them, like they might just stop talking to them forever. But with you, typically they'll tend to return at some point in time. Okay. Um, yes. So the hard truth with the whole thing, okay, with the whole thing with liking somebody who is an avoidant, okay. For one, they need to become aware of the pattern. They need to be aware of themselves. They need to understand, like, hey, I pull away from this person when I get close to this person. I need to stop because I'm hurting this person. If they never become aware of it and they never get grounded in that, they will continue to do this forever. Okay. So you need to make a decision. Are you going to stay and deal with this? Or are you going to put up an ultimatum and tell them, hey, you need to stop? Or are you going to just let it go? Right? Completely up to you. But they need to become aware of their pattern. Okay. So if it's driving you crazy, if it's freaking you out, don't be quiet. Don't just not say nothing. Say something. Say something to them because they need to know about themselves. Okay. Even though they know, you say it. Say it. I'm telling you. Let them know, like, hey, I can't keep doing this with you. So if you like me, if you really want to be here, I need you to be more consistent. I need you to show up. If they can't do that, then they don't deserve you anyway. The hard truth, I'm going to leave you with this, okay, is you can have one of the deepest connections of your life with somebody who still isn't emotionally ready to sustain it, okay? So I'm going to say that again. You can have one of the deepest connections of your life with someone who still isn't emotionally ready to sustain it. So you have to come into peace with knowing, like, okay, I really want to be with this person. I really want this, but they're not going to change. This is never going to change. That's when you come to a point in your life where you realize, okay, am I going to keep wasting my life, or am I going to let this go and let something better come in? All right. So I hope this helped. I really did. I dealt with an avoidant for a long time. So I know all of the things, and it was a very, very intense and deep connection. And it drove me crazy. Quite frankly, it drove me crazy, because it's very hard for me to feel for somebody, and when I do, it's like I'm all in. But once I started to understand why he did what he did and why he is the way he is, I kind of gave him a little grace, like, okay, you just scared, you're just scared, you're just scared of this love. Like, no, but I was being serious, just pray on it, get grounded in this. And just because you understand the avoidant don't mean you have to put up with the avoidant. Okay. So that's the decision for you to make. When you know better, you do better. Okay. So I'm Wisdom. This is Wisdom Talks. I will see you in the next talk.